Thank you, everyone, for listening to Soul Talk with host Jeremy McDonald, the author of Peace Be Still. You can check out more about our shows or about Jeremy at soultalkradio.org and jeremymcdonald.net. And now for our show.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Soul Talk. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest calling in today who's been on Soul Talk before, and she is now in the United States and is on the show again. Welcome to the show, Rasha. We're really excited about having you on the show, and I know the listeners are going to enjoy hearing you again. How are you doing?
Thank you for inviting me to be here again. I'm thrilled to be with you today.
Absolutely. So the last time we talked, you were in Albuquerque, I believe, or Santa Fe.
I was in Santa Fe. Now I'm in Pennsylvania.
Hey, that's a beautiful state.
It definitely is. It definitely is, and a lot cooler than India. Let me tell you.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I've never been to India, so I don't know what the climate is like.
It is. They say there's 3 seasons in India: hot, hotter, and hottest. And this is a welcome reprieve from that.
That must be why my friends that worked over there for our company, and they'd come back there like, I liked it, but it was just hot.
It's just so hot. So this is great.
It is. So I know that there's been a lot that's happened since the last time we talked. The last time we talked, we were kind of talking about your book, A Journey to Oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're actually coming out with messages from that book.
I am.
Oneness.
We've developed a gorgeous series that people can subscribe to, and it's free. It's the very strongest quotations from that book, the messages of oneness, and we've set them with appropriate photographs. Some of them are just exquisite. So people can go to the website, onenesswebsite.com, and sign up and receive these 2 or 3 times a week for a year. They're kind of reminders of the things that we hope we'll never forget, but we always do. So I'd encourage people to check it out. It's a beautiful series, and it's absolutely free. It's my gift to everyone.
Wonderful. That's absolutely beautiful. And, it's funny. You mentioned something, too, that just then that, we know these things, and we forget. Mm. And, it seems that the deeper I get in, it doesn't mean I still don't make. It doesn't mean I don't get out of balance. It doesn't mean I don't have opportunities to grow even more.
All of
the
it.
reminders are great.
All of it. And, it's uncanny that people seem to receive the messages that they're supposed to hear exactly when they do. Because everybody's on a different cycle with this series, depending on when you sign up. That's when you'll start with message number 1. So people are receiving different messages on the same day. And I get emails from people saying, how did you know this was exactly what I needed to hear? And I reply, I have no idea how that works, but that it works is just beyond question at this point, because too many people are saying this. How did you know that's what's going on with me today? And for me, too, and I'll open the book randomly and read something, and my God, it's exactly what I needed to be reminded of. I don't know how Oneness orchestrates this, but it
synchronicity,
works.
I guess.
It really, really does.
It happens. Matter of fact, I was actually reading this one yesterday. You are here for your journey alone, and even though you have been provided the comfort of much camaraderie, along the way, each of you is an actually flying solo in your moments of truth. And that one just...
Absolutely true. We think we're the only ones going through it. But, we're all going through this together, individually. We are making an extraordinary and exquisite journey as a human race to the realization of who we really are. Another octave of our beingness is unfolding before our very eyes. And yet, each of us is on our own unique version of it in our own unique moment. So we are crafting it like a work of art, each of us in our own way. And that's so reassuring for people, because so many people are afraid, oh my God, am I doing it right? Did I do it right? Am I missing something? What should I have done? And Oneness reassured me all along the way that there were no shoulds on this journey, that each of us is free to design this journey of exploration in the way that feels good for each of us personally. So this is, I think, the ultimate freedom that we've been given. This is not a paint-by-numbers experience. I'm reassured all the time. There's no way you can get this wrong. There's no mistakes to be made. You do this in the way that's comfortable for you. And Oneness tells me this over and over again. So yes, we're flying solo, and yet we're in it together.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. And we're all in our different areas, our different octaves. I really like that. And
it's you know, they say this is as personal as your fingerprint. This is as unique to you. So whether you want to follow a tried and true spiritual path, or whether you want to just wing it and reach out and open your heart in a way that nobody's ever done before, that's okay. This is the message of Oneness, that this is a unique experience and you do it your way. So don't look over your shoulder and see what others are doing. This is not truth by consensus. This is your truth. So that's a real cornerstone of the teachings of Oneness, is empower yourself. Do this exquisite journey to Oneness your way and watch the results. Be true to yourself. And don't worry about what other people are teaching or preaching, or what other people are doing on their paths. That's their way. You do it your way. So I was reassured of this because I sure was breaking all the rules. If you've read some of the book, as I think you have, you'll know that I kind of was winging it.
I'm smiling because I've been a rule breaker myself.
Were you?
Well, I think the ones that are living authentically are. You know, they're not living by the rules necessarily. They're following their hearts. They're following their soul.
Exactly. So, and let your soul lead you. Your soul is not going to lead you astray. That's the message. If it feels right, if it feels good to you, trust that and go with it. And don't come from a place of fear. It's like, oh my God, what if I'm off track? You know, what if? And we all do the what ifs. I know I did. But it's not about that. It's about honoring what feels right. When in doubt, go into your heart. How does it feel? Does this feel right? Does this feel like truth? If so, yes. Otherwise, if you're questioning it and you're coming from fear and you're getting mixed messages, maybe that's not the way to go. That's a way to tell, by the way, in any aspect of spiritual pursuit, whether you're on track, whether you're on your track or not. How does it feel? Run the question through your heart. It won't lead you astray, you'll know. Anyway, I followed those rules.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I don't know, I'm just pondering while you're saying that there's oftentimes that, you know, we allow ourselves to be swayed by our spouses and by our family, or, you know, children, or mom and dad. I find often a lot of times that children try to actually get their parents to be a certain way when they get older. I've actually been seeing that more and more lately, where their parents, but are friends of mine, and they're following this path like we do in our soul, and their children are telling them to stop being that way. And
really?
I'm like, interested. Yeah, it's really making their children feel uncomfortable. Matter of fact, one of them actually said, "Mom, why can't you be normal?" And,
yeah, I think a lot of us run into that who are seriously on a spiritual path, because young people are very influenced by peer pressure, by what other people may or may not think. If you have gone any distance in your spiritual journey, you realize what other people may or may not think is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with what is true for you. And you reach a point where you know you have to honor that. You have to go with what feels right for you. Never mind what the children are saying. Yes, they'd like you to be normal and go to PTA meetings and bake cookies, but that may not be what you feel like doing, or the face you feel is relevant for you to show to the world. Let that be okay. And the people that matter the most will recognize who you are and will honor that. It may take some time. It may take some time.
Well, I found many people on their spiritual path have shaken some trees up, because they're just who they are, and following their souls. And in some ways, that's perfect, because shaking the tree up is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and who says what the rules are and what it's supposed to look like? If we were all supposed to be cookie cutter copies of each other, what a dull and boring world it would be. So this, like everything else, is an opportunity to express your own self, your own truth. Follow the light and watch what happens. You'll amaze yourself. I know I did.
Well, you think just a question, and I know this answer, but the audience might like to hear it. There's an awful lot going on in our world. A lot of stuff. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
If people would just be authentic to themselves and be true to themselves, like we're talking about, a lot of this stuff would just come back into balance. And
that is so true. People tend to feel like they're at the effect of a world that's out of control. But when things get serious, that's the time to step back and recognize that what's happening around us is no more than a reflection of the energy that we collectively are putting out there. And we realize each of us has a vote. So, no, we are not victims. Each of us has an opportunity to put out the highest and the best in terms of energy to the world, in the way that we react, in the way that we respond, in the energy we bring to each and every moment. And that's not easy sometimes when the going gets rough and when the world is upside down, to keep a positive outlook. But that's the way to shift it. That's the vote that each of us has been given to cast onto the ethers. And then collectively, the world that we experience is a reflection of all those votes together being reflected back to us as our world. It's a heavy concept, but in fact that is what's going on. So when things are upside down, that's an indication that the world is in flux, that vibrationally things are changing at an extraordinary rate. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. Things have to change if a higher version of the world, as we would hope it would be, has an opportunity to come in and take the place of what no longer is working for us, a world that is completely out of balance. Those discordant situations have to give way, and sometimes the crumbling of it isn't pretty to watch. It's a mess. That's what's happening now. So when you read the headlines, and it's kind of scary, keep that in mind, that is paving the way for something more relevant to come in to a world that in fact is ascending, is getting to a higher place, and that will be ultimately a much more comfortable world to be living in. That's what we're creating together, the world as we would have it be. And the opportunity is not to cling to the old just because it's familiar. And I guess it's human nature to want things, to stay the way they were, because that's what we're used to. But that's not necessarily in our highest interest.
Yeah.
I need to have a drink of water. Just a second. Oh. Okay. Whoops. Okay, I'm back.
Do you think that a lot of this is about our attitude as well? It's like I've found, especially in the last few years, I mean, I've kept a pretty positive attitude, but I've had one thing after another hit me. And some people will come up to me and say, "Are you sure you're just not in denial, Jerry?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm really actually very happy." I'm not saying I don't get out of balance. I'm not saying things don't sway me a little bit. I said, but this is all practice, and so I found that each step, each thing that what some would consider to be a curveball, actually makes me stronger, because it makes me stop and go, okay, where am I at?
Right.
And I'm finding that has to do with my attitude. You know, I could be the victim of circumstances, or I could be the observer of my own life and look at it as it is. Each thing is an experience, and you would grow from it. So
yeah, that's absolutely true. You want to project what you want. You want to focus on your intention, not to give energy to what you don't want. So you don't want to be reiterating and describing circumstances that are not what you want, even though it's tempting to do that. Like, oh my God, woe is me, this is terrible, what am I going to do? Instead, in that moment, see that as an opportunity to focus on what you're pulling in. Yes, but.
Oh, yeah. I have a friend of mine who's a coach, and we're actually challenging each other on the buts. And she'll be like, you said but, she'll be like, and.
Yeah, well, I'm not like, literally but and. And.
Yeah.
Here's what's true for me. Here's what's real.
Yeah.
Here's what's coming.
Yeah.
This is my intention. We all know how to do this.
Yeah, it's just become a game with the two of us, so we can help each other out. So I think if we have friends and people that care about us that are practicing with this, that's what makes it fun, because we all have our limitations. So our friends are playing the self-awareness game with us. They're saying, and they're just, they catch you in it. They're not being mean, and you already know it because you have the agreement. And so you can both laugh and smile and move on and say, "Got me."
No, but they're your mirror. They're your mirror.
Yeah.
They're there to remind you in the moment of, okay, back on track now. And, it's a gift when a friend points something out. Don't take it as criticism. It isn't.
Yeah.
Somebody else is recognizing what you're not able to see in that moment and reminding you of what you already know. That's not putting you down. It's holding you up. So I think that's what we're here to do, is to hold up the mirror to each other and say, hey, look at this. Is that really what you mean? Is that really what you want to put out? Well, now that you
I love you enough to tell you.
Exactly.
So, I think sometimes we could make this a comedy down here, a divine comedy. And because when I look at the irony of with the way I've acted or the way I've been, all great lessons. But then I look at it and I laugh, and I go, wow.
Yeah.
That was...
Well, the book, A Journey to Oneness, is filled with those kinds of examples. This was not only a joyride and the exaltation of tapping into the divine source. This was the nitty-gritty journey into the depths of humanness all along the way, putting these teachings to the test, what it was like. So, and the reminders. Oneness was the mirror for me, holding it up and reminding me of where I had not been applying what I knew. There's 560 pages full of this, of how one person was able to be the guinea pig and go on this journey, and what happened to her. And God only knows why I wrote it all down. I still don't know. I was compelled to do it, and I think this was what Oneness is doing. Every thought, every doubt, every question, all the fears, all of it. I just wrote it. I poured it into the computer. And I got answers. I got lessons that I thought were just for me.
Well, and it really helped your life, and now you're able to share that with other people.
Yeah.
Really,
I'm not sure anyone's ever really done this before. A no-holds-barred documentation of what it was like to go on this journey and pulling out all the stops. I did it, and it was quite a challenge to come to terms with the fact that I was actually going to print this because I thought this was, very private. And Oneness reminded me this wasn't necessarily just for me. It was for everybody. And that was hard for me.
I remember you talked about that the last time on the show, is that you said you had a little bit of difficulty putting it together because you really thought it was for you.
I thought it was for me. I thought it was personal. I thought, my God, this is my personal journey. How can I write this? And Oneness said, you don't understand. You are blazing a trail. You are lighting the way for people who will relate to this. And I've been reassured of that after I've printed it. I've had hundreds and hundreds of letters of people who are sharing their own intimate details of their journey, which parallel what happened to me. It's uncanny how interconnected we all are. But I didn't realize it when I was going on this journey. I thought I was alone. I thought nobody else could be going through this. And lo and behold, so many people are. That was why Oneness pushed me to write this in the candid way that I was pushed to write it. And I guess the results speak for themselves. The teachings are profound, and I was the one who had to learn everything the hard way. I was the one who crawled down the spiritual path on my hands and knees. And I understand now that I'm not the only one who did that. There was a lot of repetition there. Like if I didn't get it the first time, they put me through the paces again and again and again. So for those of you who feel like you are repeating lessons, you're seeing the same movie over and over again, that is because there is a profound lesson for you that is being instilled in you experientially, not just theoretically because you've read it in a book and you understand it mentally, you grasp it. You are being given living illustrations of these principles from your own experience of it. That's why there is so much repetition, because we need to get to the point where we are reprogramming our responses to life's prompts so that the new way of responding becomes the knee-jerk reaction, not the old way of responding. And the way to shift those response patterns is by repeating the lesson over and over again a couple of times. So a lot of people comment like, wait a minute, didn't she just go through that lesson? Well, yes, and life handed me a curveball again. And here's what happened. And it's fascinating to trace the pattern, as each of you will when you review what happens in your life, that there's a lot of repetition. And Oneness calls this your life themes. These are the issues you've come into this lifetime to work on. So you're being drilled over and over and over again, so that you come forth with the highest and the best response in terms of your own spiritual growth. Ultimately, you don't have the vibrational components with which to call forth those kind of experiences. Eventually, the energy will dissipate on that issue, and you'll find that same old thing isn't happening anymore. It just stops. But it takes a while before that happens. And it's such a relief when it does. Then you're on to other adventures.
On to the next thing.
Not the same old movie over and over again. So that's a lot of what is happening in people's lives, is they're getting good at it. They're getting good at responding in the way that really supports their growth, instead of responding in ways that we are conditioned to respond, that actually undermine where we want to be going. And this book is loaded with these understandings. And my own story is the living illustration of how to put these principles to the test, and what happens when you do. It was mind-blowing. It's a 7-year chronicle of what happened to me between 1998 and I think it goes through 2007 or 2006, something like that. And it doesn't end, it keeps on going.
Well, yeah, because the journey is everlasting.
It is everlasting.
I've always pondered that before. Once we get beyond this experience, wherever that is, does the soul stop experiencing? And I'm like, well, no. It would never stop experiencing, because it's always going to find joy in its understanding. So
it's an expansion. It's a process of deepening, ever unfolding. It's not like you reach a destination and that's it, game over. That's not it at all. And people who think that somebody's going to trip their switch in a workshop some weekend, and all the lights are going to flash, and then they're going to be enlightened, and that's it. They've been very misguided. That's not what happens at all. This is a gradual and exquisite process of unfoldment, and you become deeper and deeper, yet another octave of who you really are. You get to discover that. You get to experience that as yourself. And the uncanny thing is, it's still you. You experience it as you. You're just looking out from an exalted perspective on the very same scenery, but you're seeing it really differently. That's what happens. And it doesn't stop. It gets deeper and deeper. So that's the opportunity in this journey.
And that's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, it kind of is, because this is possible not just for 1 in a million in these times. This is possible for everybody who wants it. You need to be prepared to go for it. That's all. And the opportunity is incredible of what is possible to experience in one physical lifetime, given the vibrational conditions we have now. It's possible to go a very long way. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just saying this quote might be perfect right now. It says, you can take a lifetime to test the water, one toe at a time, or you can take the risk right now in this very moment, and put your full commitment behind a step that is, in truth, inevitable. You're going to take that step eventually. Deep down, you know that. So basically take that leap of faith.
Yeah. That's, I think, the challenge for so many people. They've done their homework. People have really prepared themselves well for this step. They've read loads of books. They've sat with wonderful teachers. They've gone to workshops. So intellectually, they get it. They are prepared for what happens. What many people haven't given themselves permission to do is to actually go on the journey, to actually have that experience. And that does not necessarily happen in a group setting. That happens when you take the risk to close the books and close your eyes and go into the silence and go into your inner depths and give it time. Dedicate time to it. Don't expect this is going to happen in 15 minutes, once in a while, because that's all the time you've got to spare. This happens when you make it a priority in your life and you set time aside and you do it regularly, daily. That's when the doors start to open inside and the quantum leaps happen. It's because you've made a declaration to the universe that this is important to you. This is a priority in your life. That's when you get the results. So just because you've read all the major books that are out there, that does not necessarily mean that you are going to have the profound experiences you hope you will, that you dream of. You have to do the work too, the inner work. So I would encourage everybody to take their dreams seriously and to dedicate the time to going on this journey if they want to have this in their lives, because this is possible. We are being supported so incredibly much with the energies on the planet that are giving us a leg up on this ride. In times past, it might have taken generations, decades, to be able to do what we can do in a much shorter amount of time if we really dedicate the time to doing this. And, it's amazing what is possible. It's just amazing. You think, oh my gosh, pinch yourself. Is this real? Is this really happening to me? I know I did that. It's like this was something that happened to other people who spent years in caves in the Himalayas. Those were the people that had experiences like that. It's like, oh my God, but I'm just a normal person. Well, guess what?
We forget those people were normal people too.
Yeah, they are. But, you know, in the caves in the Himalayas, those are people that are doing it 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying at one point in time they were not doing that, you know, maybe at a very young age.
That's true. But they made a choice.
Yeah. I actually just made a choice like that, not to go in the Himalayas, but I made a choice to not have a roommate or anybody living with me or anything like that, and I did it on purpose. I'd always had somebody because it was more affordable. And I found it's really actually kind of funny. As soon as I said I'm going to live by myself, just with me and my dog, my mind, because when you're living with somebody, their energy is always there, and they're not doing anything wrong. They're just always there. So it's so I found the solitude of just being meditation and stuff like that, but also just cleaning your own house and doing your own things and managing your house. There's a lot of calmness and stillness to that. And
absolutely. There's a lot to be said for flying solo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And aloneness doesn't necessarily have to be lonely. You are in such good company. Oneness is there.
Yeah.
And there are
I've been having that a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
That inner voice.
Yeah, the inner voice is incredible companionship, isn't it?
It is.
It is there.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, I think that still comes down to the fact where people say that I get the most. Some people say, "Well, I get the most inspiration when I'm in the car driving or when I'm in the shower." And I'm like, that's because you're by yourself and it's quiet. So.
Well, that's because you're in a meditation.
Yeah.
You're in a driving meditation or in a shower meditation. I get my best ideas in the shower. Always have. Never understood why. It's just spontaneous.
Oh. Yep. I actually got. We just did an event in May called Celebrating Infinite Oneness, and the idea was to create a space where nobody knew the schedule. I mean, there was a schedule, but even that, if it got off schedule, it was because, oneness or flow wanted it to be that way. And so I said to everybody, you might be with some over here and you might miss a speaker, but that's okay because that's what you were supposed to be. And the flow of energy, I just wanted to see if it was possible to get a large group of people to work and flow together and see what would happen. And it was absolutely wonderful. And I got that idea in a shower, actually, and it was absolutely wonderful to watch it unfold because we are oneness. And if we just allow ourselves to be, we'll always be in the right and perfect place. So
that's absolutely true. And the lessons are not always what you think.
Yeah.
It's perfect just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember that sometimes when things aren't going the way you think they're supposed to be going. But in retrospect, you realize how rich that lesson was, that was exactly what you needed to do, exactly what you needed to hear in that moment.
Yeah.
That's what the quantum leaps are made of. Yeah. Well, the book Oneness and the book A Journey to Oneness are loaded with these principles to help people understand what's going on and how to apply these understandings.
And for everybody for the people that are listening, Rasha's website is actually down in the comments of this show, but also you can get it at www.onenesswebsite.com, and there's actually links to the books and a way to sign up for the Oneness messages, and also there's a new one. This sign up for the Moment of Oneness, a powerful audio email series. So there's a lot of stuff on here that you can help you.
There are actually three. There are 3 different series, and they're all free.
Oh, there's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's
the Wisdom of Oneness messages. Those are the quotations from the book Oneness. That's the first one, and those are 57 messages. They come, I think, twice a week. And then the audio series, that's about 160 messages. And you can listen to them. They come 3 times a week, and you can close your eyes and have a minute as a meditation. So these are some of the most powerful quotes from the book Oneness. And my voice from the audio book is speaking this 1-minute message. It's a longer quotation. So most people do that. They click on it and then close their eyes and use it as a 1-minute meditation. And then the new series, A Journey to Oneness messages, those are the best quotations out of the new book, A Journey to Oneness. And again, that's 160 of them. It's a full year's worth that comes several times a week.
So we got lots of opportunities to help us on our journey.
I would say pick one. I wouldn't sign up for all 3 at once. It would be too much. But pick one, and then when you've completed, you can sign up for the next one. Yeah, they're gorgeous. The photography is exquisite. So this is the kind of thing people put on their fridge.
Is that your photography?
No, they're things that people have sent to me and things we found on the internet, and just a whole conglomeration of gorgeous photographs. that I've been collecting for years that we've put together that illustrate the quotation perfectly. So it's not just a pretty picture slapped on it. It's a picture that communicates the meaning of that particular quotation. So they're perfect for sharing with people. You'll see one and you'll know exactly who needs to hear that today. And that's an opportunity to spread the word also. If you're touched by one of these messages, feel free to share it as appropriate. We hope people will.
Yeah, I've seen the ones, a few of them on Facebook, and so that's what I was sharing with you. Here on
we
the
have
show.
a Facebook page, too.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been on it.
Yeah.
Actually, let me. I was going to pull that up so we can tell everybody. Of course, you can sign up through the website with Facebook too.
Right.
If I remember right. But I had your Facebook up in front of me, and I didn't have it.
I think it's
Oneness through Rasha.
Oneness through Rasha. Yeah.
Yep.
And there are different quotations and different photographs on Facebook, so you won't be duplicating. That's a whole different program.
Well, we got plenty of stuff here. Well, actually, here's the first one from September 11. It is in the balance between the active and the passive aspects of beingness and doingness that the sense of personal self transitions into perception of the fullness of that of being and knows itself to be the self. Very cool. From A Journey to One.
The book is loaded with guidance. It's not just a book of guidance. It was written as a tapestry of telling what was going on in this particular character's life, the character we'll call Rasha, what was happening that prompted such teachings to come forth. So it's woven together as an ongoing story with all these teachings of oneness that came. So it's not a duplication of the first book. This material goes much deeper than the first book, Oneness did. And it makes it relevant because it's not just theoretical understandings. It's, okay, what do I do with that? And I showed you what a hypothetical person did with it and what happened to her.
Right, because this is your actual journey. This isn't, you're not just reciting things that you've learned in books. You're actually going out and experiencing it and then writing it.
Yeah, I took notes all along the way, not really knowing why I was doing it. But I would just sit in front of my laptop and pour my heart out to oneness like you'd pour your heart out to your best friend. And I would get consolation and I would get reprimanded. I would get strongly worded advice and all of that, and I wrote that down too. And it wasn't until so many years later that I was told that this would be the foundation of a book. And I thought, wait a minute, time out. I didn't agree to that. They said, well, you don't understand. That's what we're doing here. Is we're not just documenting teachings, we're living the teachings. I thought, oh boy, that takes it to a whole other level, doesn't it? So
I think people relate to it well too.
Oh, they definitely do, and that was what was so astounding for me, is to realize how this was ringing true to people, people that I had never met, people from all over the world, not just Americans, who were telling me that they were having the exact same kind of experiences and that the guidance that I was receiving was exactly what they needed to hear and that they felt oneness was speaking directly to them. That blew my mind because, of course, I felt oneness was speaking to me. It's all this guidance is written in the second person. It's written in the you form. So each person comes away feeling that oneness is talking directly to them. And it's uncanny how this works. It really strikes a chord in people because, of course, Oneness is talking directly to each of us.
Yes.
We are all one.
Well, even this radio program. This radio program, we're going to put this out in archives, and there will be people that listen to it 5 years from now, and they'll probably say, what they just said, what Rasha just said, rings so true to me. How did she know I needed to hear this?
Yeah,
because really Oneness knows that they're going to be listening to it at that point in time. So.
Exactly, and we are all on a parallel journey. The illustrations might be different. Your experiences will be very different than mine, but there will be a common thread. So right. I have not given you a template with this book, A Journey to Oneness. I've given you an illustration of how a journey might go. Yours probably will go very differently, and yet there will be very strong underlying parallels in your life right. to some of the things that I went through when I was going on a similar level, when I was at a similar level in my journey, to what you'll be going through when you hit that point. It will be uncanny how similar the experiences of each of us are. So that's I came to understand that's why I was encouraged to share this. Of course, this is not the kind of thing. It's very candid. It's extremely candid. This is not the kind of thing most people would write, and yet it needed to be said. It needed to be shared. This is not a whitewashed journey. This is the truth. This is what happens. You have exalted experiences. You climb the mountain, and the view from the top is exquisite. But then there are other moments where it is absolutely a roller coaster, and there you are at the bottom again. How did you get down there? Who knows? And so up you go again. It's the ups and downs of it that people are not prepared for sometimes. That takes people by surprise, and they think, "Oh God, what did I do wrong?" It was so great, everything was gorgeous, and then what happened? Now I am completely on my face again. But that is the process. It is the peaks and valleys, the ebb and flow of the tides of enlightenment, Oneness calls it. It comes in waves, and it's gorgeous, but then you're back in what we consider the real world, and you think, well, wait a minute, it was so beautiful. Now, what am I doing? Back in this old movie. And, back and forth you go until you are in this up to your neck, you're in it over your head, and then ultimately you dissolve into that ocean of oneness as the waves come deeper and deeper, stronger and stronger, and more frequent. You merge with it. You become that. So it'll come in tastes. But as you are easing into it, it's not a joyride necessarily. It's intense. Oh my God, you are really challenged to the max to keep your eye on the ball sometimes. When life...
I'm only laughing because you're making me really think about...
No, it's true. Isn't it true? Is it not true?
It is. Well, I was just going through that the other day, actually, because I went up, my book tour I was on the spiritual high, and like a week after, actually about 3 weeks after the tour, my checking account my Visa debit card got stolen. And from there on, it was just one challenge after the next, after next. I'm like, how could I have just been on this 22-state beautiful tour? And then I even laughed and got in judgment with myself. I wrote a book about finding inner peace. How is this happening to me?
Love it. Oh, my God, that's perfect.
And I was like, well, if I'm going to teach it, I better learn it.
Yeah.
Even on a deeper level. So it was...
That's exactly what happened to me. And I used to say to Oneness, if I'm so smart and I can explain this to people, why is my life such a mess? And they say, You can't teach this if you haven't lived it, Rasha. I got it in that moment. Yeah, and they said that over and over again. Like, what's with all the testing? I'm tired of the testing. And you have to have lived it for yourself, not just theoretically spouting principles. You have to live and breathe these teachings if you are going to stand as an illustration for other people. And so many people out there are going on that journey. It's because we are building a foundation for compassion in these experiences. We are learning to recognize the commonality in the experiences of others. We're recognizing the tears of others as our own, and we're able to be authentic and stand there as the Rock of Gibraltar when somebody else is in his moment of despair, not just because we get it, but because we've walked in his shoes. So that is also an aspect of this. If people are having a rough trip, they're having a rough time of it, this is because you are going to be that rock for somebody else in the times to come. Each of us is building on the strengths of the people that are guiding us so that we can stand and be the shoulders that other people will lean on and climb on their journeys. And so it goes with all of us together on this journey to oneness. So you haven't done anything wrong when life has clobbered you again. Just you're getting strong. You're getting good at it. And when you go on your own 22-city tour, you'll be able to stand and speak your truth because you've walked your talk. You've been there authentically. You can tell by painful experience what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where we're able to tell the stories instead of just reciting facts. You know,
exactly.
Or saying somebody else's teachings, like, or saying, well, Rasha says, you know, then we can say, Rasha says this and I've experienced it, or this is what I've experienced.
Right.
And you can actually teach from your own experience.
Yeah.
So,
each of us.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all teachers, you know. We're all teachers. We reach out and touch those people in our immediate circle. You don't have to be standing up on a dais or, you know, giving a satsang or a lecture in order to be a teacher. The wisdom that comes out of your mouth in day-to-day life is what people need. Each of us is a teacher for the people who are close to us. And hand in hand, we're doing this. We're growing. And we're going on this journey, and we're becoming that oneness that we read about, that we theorize about. We are actually becoming it as a human populace. That's pretty exciting. When you realize this is not just a story. This is really happening. Oh, my God. This is really happening to all of us. It's very cool.
Yeah, more and more people are coming forward and talking about it, and that's what makes it even more exciting. I mean, there's just people are talking about these profound experiences in their life, and it's really extraordinary to watch.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last 5 or 6 minutes here. Was there anything that you would like to cover that maybe we didn't cover?
Oh, well, we covered a lot. I would love to just reemphasize to people that it's okay, whatever way you feel guided, to reach inward to the oneness within you. That's okay. Don't feel like you have to duplicate someone's experience. You don't have to duplicate the experience you read in my book or in anyone else's book. This is your work of art, and feel free to give yourself permission to do it in the way that feels right to you. Make it a priority. That's what I would say to people. Make this a priority.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And then just everybody remembers, you can check out Rasha and sign up for these wonderful teachings at www.onenesswebsite.com. You can also learn more about Rasha. You can get her books there, The Journey to Oneness. There's just a whole wealth of gifts and things that you can get here on her website, and also her book Oneness as well. So definitely check her out, and I'm sure that the next time she's back in the United States, she'll be back on Soul Talk again.
I hope so. I hope so. I live in India most of the time. I live in a remote village in South India, but I'm here for 2 months, usually in the fall. So I was very lucky that you invited me to come back. So I'm not here very much.
Yeah, well, maybe one of these times I'll make it to India.
You're invited.
When it's not as hot.
You're invited. Come in the winter. Come in the winter, December, January. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Rasha, it is always a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to your trip back to the United States in 2015, and we will talk soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me to be here.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will be making announcements about our next show coming up shortly. And thank you so much. Bye-bye.